अस्सलामुअलैकुम दोस्तों, मेरा नाम अब्दुल्ला कश्मीर वाला। मेरा ताल्लुक कराची से है, मैं 15 ईयर्स ओल्ड हूँ। आज के मेरे गेस्ट एक बहुत ही टैलेंटेड इंसान हैं और आप इनको बहुत ज़्यादा फेसबुक पे देखते भी रहते होंगे क्योंकि बहुत ज़्यादा अपने मतलब इंटरव्यूज़ डालते हैं, मतलब बातें करते रहते हैं। इनका नाम है डोनाल्ड किंग। ये एक कंटेंट क्रिएटर हैं, इसके अलावा ये और भी बहुत कुछ करते हैं। आइए इनसे इनके बारे में और जानते हैं। अस्सलाम वालेकुम, हाउ आर यू?
I'm very good. How are you today?
I'm also fine. So can you briefly introduce yourself to my
Ab-
viewers?
Absolutely. My name is Donald King. I live in the United States of America. I'm a content creator by trade for right now. I'm formerly a chef and a musician and things of this nature. So I kind of get around. I do a lot of things, but for the time being, it's like I'm a content creator. So
Okay.
nice. Very good.
Okay. So first of all, sir, it's an honor to take your interview, and you have given me time from your very precious time. For first of all, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay. So can like tell you're a content creator. So can you tell me what type of like what is your target audience as being a content creator?
Well, it with the type of material that I produce, I'm trying to reach as large of an audience as possible. A good majority of the work that I deal in has to do with explaining principles that I understand and that I'm able to see. So, I guess the easiest way to say it is, there are certain people who have different gifts when it comes to how they see and understand the world. I just so happen to be fortunate enough to have a type of perspective that allows me to see things in a rather unique way. And because I see things in the way that I do, when it comes to most subjects, I'm fairly adept at explaining myself very well, and I tend to see things fairly accurately. So, and something that I like to describe it as being akin to would be having perfect pitch and sound. So, if you're a musician and you understand where the placement of certain tones are supposed to be, then you have what's called absolute pitch. Well, so far as I've been able to determine, I seem to have that with reality at large. I'm not saying that I do, but I like to test. I like to test it out to see whether or not what I see is accurate. And so far as I've witnessed, I'm usually pretty on the money. I'm usually fairly accurate in
Okay.
what I see. So I try to explain to people what I see and how I see it without embellishing or withholding from how I witness and understand reality, if that makes sense.
Okay. So, like how do you get a topic on content writing? Do you get a topic or do you like you make a topic out of your own? Like you make your topic own.
It's a combination of both. A lot of times, you have to understand, I've been doing this for a long time now. So I've built a fairly extensive body of work. Many times I'm sort of building onto work that I've already sort of laid the groundwork for. But then oftentimes I'll come across a new topic or a new subject or something will come through the news and it'll spark my interest. And I'll say, okay, well, let's tackle this today. Let's see what this is about. And yeah, that's usually the way it comes. It's fair. It's a very intuitive process. What's presented to me in the moment is what I'm going to write on, and I challenge myself to see how accurate I can be in describing how I see and understand whatever the issue or subject being discussed at the moment is. So yeah, that's generally the way it works for me.
Okay. So can you tell me what actually is content writing? Because most of people do not know what is actually content writing. So can you tell me about
Okay,
it?
well, very good. So that it's a fairly broad field. It's pretty broad. When I describe content writing, what I'm talking about is sometimes I'll write content for let's say aspiring writers or for possibly publications, or I can write things. The majority of what I focus on has to do with me producing content that delves into how I see and understand the world. And I just produce, well, lots of material. I'm prolific. I'm not saying I'm a good writer. I'm saying I'm a prolific writer. I
Okay.
produce a lot, and well, so far it's treated me well enough, and that's the best that I can say on
Okay. So can you tell me, being a content writer, how do you decide the tone? Like there's a tone of a content. So how do you decide that?
that. Well, it really has to do with the subject being discussed and the audience that you're trying to reach. Not everybody has similar life experiences. We all have different, we come from different cultures, we come from different socioeconomic backgrounds. And if you're trying to, I guess, reach an audience that maybe comes from, a not so well to do area, you want to be a little bit more colloquial. You want to be relatable. And then, there are other people who are in the, academic and scientific community, and they tend to like things a bit more structured and organized. So you have to, first of all, understand the target, the audience that you're trying to target and or reach. And then also on top of that, you just want to, forgive me, it's like I kind of lost my train of thought there for a second. But I guess the best thing that I would say there is, like, you just want to dial in, get out of your inner story. And that's the best way to say it. Like, you have to get out of how you approach the world and how things make sense to you, and really try to tune to other people. And when you tune into what they're expecting to see and what they expect to hear, and are more than likely going to want to understand, then, that's the best way to find the tone, in my opinion. You see who you're
Okay.
trying to reach. Go ahead.
Okay. Can you tell me, how do you actually schedule for all your work? Like you like music and you are a content creator, and you most of the time are on Facebook Live, and you're telling stories and etc. So can you tell me, how do you manage all of this?
The grace of God, I still don't know. I don't know. It's interesting. You know, more days than not, I'll look up and the day is already gone. And I'm like, where did the time go? I'm always doing something. And you know, I'll say it like this. When you're purpose driven, I don't really think that you pay attention to the amount of time that goes into doing what you're pursuing. I think that oftentimes you're going to be so given to what it is that you want to capture and or express and convey, that you won't notice how much time has passed and how much work you've done. You'll just look up and there'll be a long trail of work. There'll be a long
Sorry.
trail of work behind you, and a lot of hours missing from your life. But yeah, so I don't know if it's something that I can schedule, or if it's something that I do more from an intuitive feel. Probably the latter, but somehow it gets done. So that's the best way I can describe it.
Okay. So once you have published a content, okay, like you have write on something XYZ, and can you tell me, how do you promote that thing? Like you have wrote about poverty, and then how do you promote it?
I'll be honest, in my experience, I can't speak for everyone, but in my experience, oftentimes it's just been luck of the draw. You don't you I especially with the content that I write, I'm not sure of how it's going to reach the audience or whether or not it will, but some pieces they pick up and they're fairly popular, and they take off that way. So I don't know how to promote it. I know that it's like a lot of times when you're trying to get people and clients to write for, you have to do a lot of searching and grinding and things of
Research,
that.
a lot of research, right?
Yeah. But that's I don't know that it's like I have a formula to offer in that way. There are a lot of people who produce a lot of content these days, and
Okay.
yeah, whether or not you're seen, whether or not you're not seen, some people believe that it's a formula. For most people, it's luck of the draw. At least so far as I've witnessed, and
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me, what are the best websites for a content writer? Oh, sorry. I said it wrong. Yeah, content creator. What is the
Content
best
creator.
websites for content creator?
Well, Pardon me. I think the best websites, the major platforms are going to be, at least in my experience, and I can only speak from my experience. I do things on Instagram. I do things on Facebook when I can, and then also YouTube, and then I post to Medium as well. So those are the main sites that I use. I'm sure that there are people who are exponentially more successful in it than I am, and these are the major platforms that I see a lot of people who I look up to performing on. So it's like that's where I try to find my audience as well, and hopefully as I move forward I'll have much more success in that way, but yeah.
Okay. Okay. So there are two things, like what's the difference between blog and an article?
I think blog has more to do with the person speaking directly from their personal experience. I think an article can do that as well, but articles tend to be a bit they tend to be a bit more objective in my view. A blog is kind of like a diary. It's like a person journaling their thoughts, views, and experiences, and then the opinions and beliefs they form based on those things. And then in an article, it's going to be more along the lines of people, well, just breaking apart subjects and sort of exploring topics a little bit more. And the articles tend to be a bit more structured, a little bit less nebulous. And hopefully I answered that well enough.
Okay. You have answered it well enough. So can you tell me what kind of music do you like? Like you like music. So what kind of
Oh,
music do you like?
um, I think it's easier to narrow down the types of music I don't like. I don't, I like pretty much everything. Anything that has to do with music, I love it. You know, I don't like music that's sort of geared towards vanity and narcissism. Okay, so when people do or sing or perform in ways that sort of self glorify and that sort of promote competition ahead of ahead of like cognizance, I don't really like that type of music
Okay.
too much.
Okay.
So
So can you?
go
Oh
ahead.
yeah, you can continue, continue, continue.
No, oh no, I was just saying is basically I like music that's sort of whole and not just like tonality and structure and dimension, but I also like music that well basically gets people out of their inner story and makes them like reflect on the world around them or takes them to different spaces. So I'll listen to an artist who really does something that makes me go into the world they were in when they created a piece, and I'm like, oh man, that's beautiful, that's brilliant. I'll listen to someone like John
Okay.
Coltrane's, yeah, John Coltrane, tiny giant steps, and it just takes me to where he was when he produced that album, and I'm like, oh man, this is amazing. So yeah, that's the
Okay.
kind of music I like. Go ahead.
Okay. So can you tell me, like, what challenges did you face in your life doing all this work you were doing?
Oh man, so many challenges. I don't, honestly, to tell you the truth, I think that I've been so busy that I haven't had too much of an opportunity to really focus on the challenges so much. I think that it's like when I'm in my downtime and I'm by myself, or when I'm talking to friends, that maybe it's a lot easier to hash out like, oh, I struggled this way and I struggled that way. But when you're actually like synced up and with it and you're in the moment, um, you you don't really have time to focus on those things. And right now, it's like I say, you know, family life was very difficult to balance in that in the pursuit, and you know, there's not a whole lot of time. There hasn't been a whole lot of time left for me to just live freely and just be comfortable and in the moment. So it's like in that way, I feel that that's a bit there. There've been some challenges, but for the most part, nothing that I regret. So yeah.
Okay. So can you tell me like how did you get this? Like you like song music. So how do you find there you should about music? Like how do you why do you love music?
Uh, I think music is the original language. I think music is the original language. When you hear harmony, you're hearing symbiosis, you're hearing balance. When you hear dissonance, you're hearing, I guess, the necessary separation that has to occur between harmonies in order for things to be round and whole. And I know that there's probably a better way to say that, but when I'm listening to music, I'm listening to language, and it's the original language. And if you're tuned to reality in the way that I try to be, you're always trying to hear the original language. So it's a combination of rhythm and flow and harmony and dissonance, and everything comes together. And you listen to certain materials, you listen to certain songs, and before you know it, you're like, you can see the scene it was created in your mind, and you're like, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. You continue.
Well, no, it's I'm not doing a great job of explaining it right now, but the
Ah,
idea,
you can continue. It's you
the
can.
the when you're doing music, or when you're listening to music, I can't remember the person who said it, but they described a painting as being frozen music or something like that. When you hear, and I guess it has to do with sort of synesthesia, when you can hear paintings and you can hear these, like if I listen to like Ben Folds music, I'm a big fan of Ben Folds. I can listen to, like, he has these palaces that he's created out of sound, these huge walls of sound, and you're like, who thinks like that? Who does that? And that's where that's, at least that's how it affects me. So I love music.
Okay, so can you tell me like how does music change your like emotions like some rock music? So
It
does
does.
music change your emotions?
Yeah, it does. Something that I've noticed is that people who listen to more aggressive music and things that are more that focus more on the sharp accents, like the 1 and the 3 with the drums, and that are like really, really, the more, if you listen to aggressive music, you tend to become aggressive. If you listen to music that's sort of based in narcissism, you tend to be narcissistic. If you listen to music that's sad, then you tend to be sad. It's like, so your emotional state is, it's very, your general emotional state is usually reflective of the types of media you consume. So I try to listen to things that, I don't just listen to things that are happy and upbeat. I listen to things that are sad. I listen to things that are sometimes that are a bit narcissistic, and listen to things that are a bit selfish and things of that nature. But it's like I try to listen to everything in a rounded way, so that I understand all the perspectives, if that makes sense.
Okay, so can you tell me how did COVID change your life?
Um, I don't really know that it did. I if I say it changed my life in any way, it sort of made me aware of how many people around me are 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 sort of living in fear of everything. And I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'm just saying, like, COVID changed my life in the sense that it showed me how much of the world relies heavily on I have to be careful about how I say this, and you have to forgive me as I sort of stutter through this portion right here, but it's, I want people to be honest and synced up with reality. I want people to understand their own power and their own, their and process information reality through their own minds. And something that I think COVID has shown me is that there are many people who look to third party perspectives to inform their thinking. And in here in the here in the United States, people are looking to who they should listen to for information on COVID, as opposed to thinking for themselves and saying, hey, let's take necessary precautions. Let's take necessary precautions and really come together and figure this problem out. Let's get this problem sorted. They're not thinking about how to solve the problem. They're focusing more on who they should listen to and who they should disregard. That's very problematic. That's very
Yeah,
problematic.
you're very right.
So this is what COVID showed me, and I knew that this was always a problem, but the COVID-19, it exposed the depth of the problem and how extensive and how like overwhelming it is. Like, people are not thinking; they're only fighting over which authority should be listened to. That's a problem.
Yeah, you're right.
So I for the most part in my life, I can't say much has been affected just yet, but you know, when we get into a situation where, you know, this thing strikes, everything gets shut down, and no one knows how to work cooperatively, everyone only knows how to compete. Here, people were buying up all sorts of toilet paper. What does buying up toilet paper have to do with a virus? What does buying up all the toilet paper have to do with the virus? But they're listening to everyone. They're reacting. Everyone's thinking reactively. Everyone's trying to fight over which authority should be listened to, and no one is thinking in real time. And that's honestly, that's what the majority of my work really focuses on. It's trying to get people to recognize and sync up with reality in real time. Forget the inner story. Forget listening. Forget listening to groups. Are you feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm a bit off.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. It's like, I hope that you are feeling better. But you know, we have to get to a point where we're actually paying attention in real time. Everybody's operating by their inner story. Everybody's listening to groups and listening to authority figures. No one's thinking and paying attention to and responding to reality in real time. We have to get people out of these stories and to start interacting with each other in reality and making decisions based on what's happening in reality. And again, that's what the majority of my work really focuses on. So yeah, and I'm sorry, I probably went off. I trailed off a bit there, but hopefully I pulled it back in.
Okay, so can you give me your last message for our viewers who are watching now and who will watch later?
Yes. Everything that anyone who is trying to impact the world is ultimately doing right now is trying to get everyone to recognize and sync up with reality. We've wasted far too much time trying to defend our inner stories and trying to make our inner stories become reality for everyone. Every conflict in the world basically boils down to people trying to compete to make their stories the only stories that are real and the only stories that matter. Forget about the stories. Let's talk to each other in real time. Let's interact with each other in real time. I'm not going to try and make my story more important than yours. Don't try to make your story more important than mine. Let's put down the stories and figure out what's going on. That's how we solve the problems.
Yes, you're very right.
So I'm not concerned about where a person comes from. I don't care about how they look compared to me. I don't care about what they believe or what they feel or what their life experiences are. Those things are important, but those things should not be important over the material impacts they make in reality and the material impacts we collectively make when we're fighting amongst each other, trying to only make our stories matter.
Yes. So, sir, it's such an honor to take an interview, and I learned a lot of you. And first of all, you give me your personal time, and it's such an honor. Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you. You're a very great person.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. You have yourself a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll catch up soon.
Okay. जैसे कि आपने देखा नाज़रीन, मेरे एक बहुत ही टैलेंटेड इंसान थे जिनका नाम डोनाल्ड किंग था। मुझे बहुत खुशी हुई इनसे इंटरव्यू लेके। जहाँ रहे खुश रहे। अगला फिर मुलाकात होगी अगले एपिसोड में। अल्लाह हाफिज।